Time more money. With the money he earned from shining shoes, he bought a lot of small items and sold them at the market. However, no one seemed to notice that George. Half a day went by and he couldn't sell it. But God doesn't disappoint those who work hard. Finally a man was attracted to George's hawking. He finally sold his first item of the day. George, who had earned his money, went to the neighborhood store, purchased milk and bread, and then run home in a 100-meter sprint. However, the teacher had actually been quietly following George the whole time. When he got home, George sliced the bread he had purchased, then put the hot milk and bread on the table. It turns out George grew up with his grandfather. Now, his grandfather is too old to work. It's all up to George to take care of grandpa while he goes to school and works part-time. However, no matter how hard it is, it was all worth it to George to be with his grandfather. And the reason George skipped lunch, it's all about saving up for his grandpa's medical treatment. The teacher, who was witnessing everything from the window, was also deeply shocked. The morrow, it's time for lunch again, as the teacher asked the class to take out their lunches. This time, George didn't choose to open the lunchbox, because instead of staring at the empty lunchboxes, he could look at the hearty lunches in his classmates' lunchboxes and quench his thirst. But in order to look less out of place, he still subconsciously opened his lunchbox. But the results speak for themselves. This time, George is trying to ease the awkwardness. He raised his hand to the teacher to indicate that he needed to go to the restroom. George just laughed. The teacher then signaled the students to start moving. Students put their food into George's lunchbox in droves. This moment, how cute the students look, and how kind the teacher was. Soon after, George is back in class. When he came to his seat in a state of disorientation, he doesn't know that a surprise is waiting for him. George picked up the heavy lunchbox with a puzzled look on his face. After confirming the sound inside the lunchbox, the moment he opened his lunchbox, he was shocked by what he saw. Looking at a lunchbox full of food and fruit, he subconsciously looked at the teacher. The teacher then acted as if he didn't know about it. And at that moment all the students around were sneaking glances at George. They're talking and laughing in this moment. The heart is full of relief. When George looked at the teacher again, the teacher smiled kindly. The next moment, before George could react, the students actually applauded George. It turns out the teacher had already told his classmates about George. At this moment the students had come to regard the dutiful George as their idol. May the goodness of the world always be treated with gentleness.